G'day, folks, and welcome back to another Encounter Down Live. Great for having you here. Thanks for coming and joining me tonight. It's absolutely wonderful. It's good to see you all here again. Look, we're going to have a fantastic show tonight, as usual. And but before we start, please make sure to go and press the like, subscribe button there if you haven't already subscribed there. Share it with your friends and family. And also, if you have had an encounter or experience there with even your friends or family have had an experience, please send them my way. I'd love to go and get them on the podcast here and have a bit of a chin wag with them and learn what's happening out there, because we are trying to go and figure out what the hell is happening out there in the real world. And there's a lot of things that we don't know. And, the public is probably the best way to go and get some sort of truth behind what is happening in this world. So by all means, guys, we'd love to get you on the show here, talk about any strange phenomena that you've had. That's regarding UFOs, paranormal, because, we are branching out. I usually do focus on the UFO side of things there, but this year we're branching right out into the phenomena of paranormal, yowies, and then that's sort of cryptid based and UFOs, of course. So that's pretty much it. So, look, guys, let's get into this tonight. And I've got Lynette J Rule with us tonight. She is now recently released a book, redirected in 5 seconds. Now it's quite a phenomenal sort of encounter here, and we've got us tonight here to go and talk about it. So in the link there, you'll also see in the description of the show tonight there is a link there where you can actually go and purchase the book yourself. So by all means, go and get the book yourself there and see what you reckon. But you're going to hear it, not the whole story, but there's going to be a few things there to go and get. Don't want to give away too much now, but you're going to get the gist of it basically. So let's get her on tonight and get this thing happening. And let's push some buttons here, get some things going. That one there, that's the one. G'day, Lynn. How you going?
Well, hello, Anthony. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's my pleasure. It's absolutely my pleasure. Now, we had a massive conversation today, and we have spoken in the past too, and we weren't quite ready to go and sort of release your story just yet. And you had a lot of things that you were trying to figure out to make sure things are, ticked in the right places, basically, because this is quite a phenomenal experience. And what really makes this interesting is it's a daytime encounter. A lot of people have encounters that are during the nighttime or seeing strange crafts there, but yours is really interesting. Now, so look, give us a bit of a history of yourself there, and let people know what sort of basically happened here, because it's quite phenomenal. And you've sort of you've had a lot of experiences in the past there with spiritual base, but this encounter made you realize there's a lot more to this phenomena than meets the eye, basically.
Well, I live in Adelaide, and I've been driving my motorhome around Australia for about 12 years now by myself. And nothing as strange as this, and I'm used to the roads and used to the mileage. And this particular day I was heading to a cattle station up at Lara Station in the middle of Queensland. It was day 3. It was 2,000 kilometres from Adelaide to Lara Station. So I thought I'd take 5 days to do it, cruise along, stop on the side of the road like I normally do, no costs. And I got up in the morning after being out there by myself all night, and I was just in the perfect mood. It was a perfect day, 37 degrees expected, 4 kilometre breeze. And I thought, this is just the best day ever. I passed through a little town in Queensland called Wyandra, which is about 80 k's south of Charleville. And I was just driving along doing 85 k's an hour. I was testing out my mileage to see how much fuel I was using. No hills, no bends, no wind, no trucks, no caravans, just me. And something green caught the corner of my eye out to the left. And I thought, oh, what's green in the sky? It can't be anything green in the sky, but it was green. And it was a mint green, a light mint green, a glowing sort of mint green, a bit like if you had a balloon and you filled it up with green gas and then took the skin off the balloon. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, it must be budgies. It must be a whole flock of budgies. No, it can't be that. There's no wings. Then I thought, oh, maybe it's locusts. A group of locusts got blown up into the sky. But I looked and I thought, no, locusts don't jump around the sky. They jump around your car and make a big mess. And then I thought, oh, I know what it is. It's a whirlwind full of leaves and all the leaves were gone into a whirlwind and up in the sky. And as I was looking into it, I thought, no, it's not leaves. I don't know what this is. And I could see a tail behind it, like a trailing off tail going further away. But I couldn't tell how far away it was because it was a bit hard to compare it to anything. There was a cloud. It was in front of the clouds. And as I was looking at it, I was thinking, this thing's coming for me. It's coming my way. It's heading here. And I thought, oh, I don't like that. And I had another good look at it, right into it to see if I could see bits and pieces. And I realised I couldn't see through it. It was opaque. It was thick. It was gassy. And it looked like a plume. And on the left-hand side, there was a bulge, like a green bulge of the same type of material, whatever it was. So I began thinking, if this thing comes my way and it envelops me and I get smothered with green gas, I might die. I might not be able to breathe. And then I thought, well, what if it comes across the road and it smothers me and I can't see the cars coming the other way? I thought my luck, B double will come the other way. So I thought, I'll just have another look into it, and I'm staring right into it. And I had this fear. It was a sense of this thing knew I was there, and it knew that I knew it was there. And I thought, I'm just going to plant my foot. I'm going to get the hell out of here. And I went to put my foot on the accelerator, and I was thinking, I can't go from 85 Ks to 200 Ks in a quarter of a second. And that's what I wanted to do. So I planted my foot, but it was all over within another 4 seconds, the whole thing. There was this double bang on the side of my van, bang, bang, just like the speed of a double click of a mouse. And my hand flew off the steering wheel. My right hand was holding on tight, but my left hand flew off. And I thought, oh, God, this thing's just pushed me. And I looked at the side of the road, and I was on the wrong side of the road, and thought, I can't go down that gutter. If I roll down that gutter, my motorhome's had it, and I've had it. So I kept control of the vehicle, and I pulled it back to the left-hand side of the road, the correct side, thinking, I'm glad I had my hand on that steering wheel. I'm glad I had driving lessons when I was a child. I was glad that I didn't die, because if I did, everyone would think I fell asleep at the wheel and crashed. But I didn't. And I was just driving along thinking, what could be green? And I was thinking meteorite. I thought, maybe it's a meteorite. Then I had this premonition, and it was a premonition that was one of those deja vu types. And the premonition said, you're about to get sprinkled with something very pleasant. It's going to hit your vehicle. It's going to sound beautiful. And then it happened. This big psh over my vehicle. And it was like when you open a bottle of soft drink and you let all the gas out. It was like that. And straight away I thought, that's like little particles or little hundreds of thousands lollies falling onto tin foil, sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. I thought, that's a bit odd. And that was the end of me. I was just numb. Fight and flight had kicked in. I was numb. I didn't know what had happened. And I just kept driving. I wanted to turn around to go back and see if there was anything in the paddock or anything on the side of the road. But before I kept driving, I was thinking meteorite, so I looked out to the right-hand side of the road it felt like it was coming northwest to southeast, right across me. So I looked out to the other side on the right-hand side to see if I could see a puff of smoke in a paddock, or a flames, or sparks, or a crash, or the fence got hit, or something green over there. But there was nothing. There was nothing in the paddock. The paddock was wide open. Lots of space, lots of dry grass. And I thought, I've got to look again. I can't miss a meteorite landing, because I thought, it's got to land. So I leant forward to look in my rear vision mirror, and I could see nothing at all. I thought, all right, it's a meteorite. So I'll listen for a sonic boom. So I had my head over to the window listening to see if I could hear anything. Nothing. So I counted to 60. 1, 2, 3. And as I got to about 10, I couldn't count anymore. And I thought, oh, that's 60 seconds. You know, it must have had a sonic boom by now if it was a meteorite. So I thought, it's not a meteorite. So I kept driving to a little town called Charleville. About 51 k's before Charleville, I looked at the GPS and took a measurement, and I thought, oh, it's 51 to 54 k's before Charleville, so I could go back and look in that paddock. And then a phone call came, and it was an unknown number. Excuse me.
You're right.
There was an unknown number, and I thought I'd better answer it because it might be, you know, somebody might be trying to talk to me. When I answered the call, the guy said that he was calling because he just missed my call. And I said, I didn't make a call. And he said, yes, you did. And I said, no, I didn't. And I said, I'm on the road in the middle of nowhere and something's just happened and you have to get off the phone. So I hung up on him. About 10 minutes after that, I pulled up to the roadworks, which were at a little place called Baker's Bend. It's one of those red stoplights that you get pulled up at. Nobody's there. It was quiet day. There was no people. And I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell just happened then? And a car pulled up behind me about 5 minutes later. And I thought, I'll get out the car and ask them if they had seen anything back there like I normally would. And I went to open the door of the car and my hand didn't move. And then I wiggled on my seat trying to see if I could turn around to face the door, and I couldn't move on my seat. I was just paralysed. And I thought, that's a bit odd. And I didn't really care. I just want to get the hell out of there. So I went through the roadworks and I thought, I'll go back later. I'll drive through the roadworks and I'll come back. And I thought, oh, no, I won't. My car's too obvious. It's a blue Toyota with a motorhome on the back. And I thought, oh, no, if I go back, they're going to see me go back, go through, go back, go through again. I thought, I can't take the chance that someone's speaking to me. So I kept driving and I headed into Charleville and thought I'd do some shopping. And I couldn't find the supermarket. I thought, oh, no, where it is. I was there the year before. I knew where the supermarket was. Couldn't find it. I thought, this is crazy. I'm not thinking straight. So I pulled over. And when I went to pull over, there was another motorhome just like mine in the street. I thought, oh, no, I've got to get out of here because if they see me, they're going to want to talk to another fellow motorhome owner. So I decided, no, I'll hide around a corner. So I got around this corner and pulled up and turned the engine off. And I just sat there and stared probably 20 minutes thinking, what am I doing? What am I scared of? What happened? Where's that supermarket? Anyway, I went to another supermarket and I got inside and I forced myself to speak because the words just weren't coming out. I couldn't think straight. And I said to the lady, is there a Woolworths in this town? And she said, 8 years ago. And I thought, whoa, I'm not missing 8 years, am I? And that was a strange thing to think. So I got back in my vehicle and I stopped on the side of the road before I got to the supermarket and I checked the roof and I was looking for black sooty marks. I was looking for bug guts. I was looking for green slime. I was looking for green dust. Nothing on my car, not a thing. My car was really clean for driving 1,500 k's at that stage. And so I got back in the car and thought, sure, I don't have to pay for my motorhome to get repaired. There's no dents. The satellite dish is still there. And I drove on to Augathella. At Augathella, I pulled up to the free camp, which I'd stayed in a few times before. And I thought I'll go to the pub for dinner. That'll be okay. But I decided to do my washing and do a bit of hand washing and hang it out so it could drip dry. A normal person would have been screaming, yelling, wanting to talk, tell everybody in the world what just happened, ask questions, run around crazy, but there was nothing there. I just was numb, like a zombie. And I walked over to the toilet block. I thought I better go to the toilet. So I walked over the toilet block and it felt like I was stepping on sponges, really slow motion, spongy, until I got to the toilet block. When I got to the door, there was a row of toilets with all the icons on it, and male, female, a mixed toilet, a baby change room, but I couldn't read the icons, so I just stood there looking at them. And there was a man packing up wood at the end of the toilet block. So I thought, I just got to go in there because he's going to think I'm strange if I can't just go in a door. So I went in any door. And when I got inside, I was staring at the back of the door thinking, I don't want to go to the toilet. What am I doing in here? I've got to go do the washing. So I went and did the washing, and slowly I put water in the bucket and I put some detergent in, and I had 4 things to wash. And I'm thinking, why am I washing when something really strange has just happened to me? But I wanted to feel normal for a minute. I wanted to get my senses around me and get it together before I made any phone calls. By this time, it was 5 o'clock at night, 4 hours later, and I decided to make a call to my dad, and he didn't answer. Then I was going up there to see a new man in my life, and I rang him, and he was busy cooking dinner, so he didn't want to talk. So then I rang a friend of mine, and he said, it's a meteorite for sure. You've got a meteorite there, and it must have blew up before it got to you. And I said, it didn't look like a meteorite, didn't sound like a meteorite. So I had one more phone call to my son, and he said, Mum, it's a meteorite, it's got to be. And I thought, what if it was satellite debris? But it didn't hit my car. I heard the double bang. So I went to bed, and I woke up about 12 o'clock and thought, I'm gonna search for things with green tails, meteorites, green tails, and I couldn't find any. I looked for different colours of green. There wasn't one like my mint green. There was nothing. So I decided to go back to sleep. Now, normally after something like that, you can't sleep. You can't get back to sleep. But I went straight to sleep. And I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning again, and I began thinking about the sprinkles on my car, how pretty they were, how sparkly they were, whether they were hundreds and thousands. And I thought, there's no way I could hear hundreds and thousands on my roof when my roof's made of fiberglass. It's not metal. So I had an idea. I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some paper towel in the morning. I'm going to wipe the 2 parts of my motorhome, the left side where I heard the double bang, the right side where I heard the sprinkles, and I'll take another one of the bonnet in case there's meteorite dust like magnetised to the bonnet. So I got up in the morning really early before everybody else did. I didn't want anyone to see me wiping my motorhome with a paper towel. I think I was crazy. So I checked the roof, and it was no dew on the roof. And then I thought, right, I'll take some samples. So I took 3 pieces of paper, one for each side of the cab over and one of the bonnet. When I put it into a little plastic bag, a little Ziploc bag, I folded the 2 from the roof in one side and the other piece of paper on the other side, so I knew which one was which. And I put them into my motorhome at the back of a cupboard so they wouldn't get lost. I made sure it was a safe place. It had to be hidden. If I opened all the doors and windows, it wasn't going to blow away. I knew I had something, and I didn't know what I had, but I knew I had evidence, and there was no way I was losing that piece of paper. But on the other hand, I had to remember where I put it because my brain was dead and I was walking around like a zombie even the next day. So I took off in the morning, and I got to Lara Station. I didn't think about it all day. My brain couldn't think about it because I think I couldn't cope with what had happened. When I got to Lara Station, I decided that I would work rather than talk about it to my boyfriend at the time. And he wanted to hear it all, but I didn't want to talk. So I went and did some work on the next day, cleaning a toilet block. And all I could think about was what was on the side of the road back there. And I remembered 2 of the other people that were coming to work at Lara. They were one day behind me. So I rang them and said, could you please check 51 to 54 Ks before Charleville and have a look around and see if you can see any burnt fences or burnt paddocks or anything that might suggest a meteorite crash. Anyway, they didn't see anything. They checked for me. when I got to Lara Station, I called the Cosmos Centre in Charlottesville and asked them if they knew where I could get the dust samples tested, because they were a Cosmos Centre, which is all about the universe, and they had strange space junk in there and all these interesting universe stuff in there. And the guy said to me, I find it hard to believe that you've got no dirt on your car when you've just done 2,000 kilometres from Adelaide to Charleville and then on to Lara Station. I said, well, I haven't. And as soon as he said that, I thought, he's not going to believe me. So I hung up and let it go. Then I called the police station and asked them if they'd seen anything, and the policeman was really nice and took my report, but they hadn't seen anything. Then I rang the council and asked them if they could send someone out to the paddock out there near Baker's Bend. And she said she would do it. And I thought, no, she won't do it. She would just think I'm crazy and leave it to that. So I worked at Lara Station for 7 weeks, and nobody wanted to hear my story. Nobody wanted to talk to me. If I brought it up, they walked off, or they pulled a face, or they looked at me strange. They just didn't want to hear about it. So I decided to shut up until I got back to Adelaide, which was 7 weeks later. I was home. When I got home, I decided I'd start being an investigator. So I looked up Encounters Down Under, the show, the 6-part series, and I watched every person on that show, and I saw Roger Stankovic from MUFON. I thought, oh, he looks good. He might be able to do something about this. And then I saw Cheryl Gottschall from UFO Queensland, and I thought, oh, she looks good too. You know, both of them seem to know what they're talking about. After that, I was desperate to talk to someone. I was having nightmares. I was waking up screaming, nightmares every night. And I thought, I've just got to do something about this because this is not normal. Cheryl put me onto a place called Phenomena Research Australia, which is an organisation that do testing of samples and dirt, and they investigate alleged UFO cases. I wrapped it up into another plastic bag like they told me to, cut it in half. I kept a half at home, so in case it went missing in the mail. And I sent it to PRA, and a couple of days later, they rang me and said, it's ready to be tested. I thought, oh, you beauty. Not really thinking they'd find anything but dust, bug guts, you know, biological stuff, red sand. And I was on my computer one day and an email came through. And the first words said, well, we do have a mystery. You've encountered something unusual. And you've never seen me ricochet around a room like I did this day. I was yelling at the computer. I was yelling at the walls. I was up and down off the chair. I was turning in circles. I didn't know what to think. And I thought, oh, they're kidding me. They're making it up. They're taking the piss. So I wrote back and said, you know, don't mess with me because if you're telling lies, I need to know that it's, you know, there was nothing there. But I scrolled down the computer screen and there was all the results. And I thought, oh, and it said it is not meteorite, space junk, weather or wind related, not industrial. And I thought, well, that doesn't leave much, does it, if it's not any of those things? And I froze. I thought, what the hell did I see out there? What could it be? And that's when the real investigation started, and PRA, which is Phenomena Research, got on to me and said, you have found something that's not of this world. They didn't exactly say it like that. They said it's an unknown copper barium, 80% copper, 20% barium particle. The two particles don't belong together. They don't like each other. But there was nothing in the particles that held it together like silicon or titanium, nothing. So that was strange in itself. The investigation is still ongoing to this day, and this happened on the 27th of March 2023. So it's nearly 3 years ago this March. I did a drawing. You might like to show that later. It's a drawing of the green thing, what it looked like from my windscreen. I call it the green thing because it wasn't a spaceship. It wasn't aliens. It didn't look like an object. It looked like a gassy plume, cloud-like thing, but the bulge made me think something was inside it. And down the bottom, I could see little sprinkles, and it looked like the sprinkles you get on a game show when it comes, all the sprinkles come down from the ceiling.
Oh yeah, the confetti. Yeah.
Yeah, the confetti. And I thought, oh, there's something in there, but I didn't know what it was. I never saw it again because it passed over me somewhere. PRA did a lot of calculations. They did 2 papers on it. One paper was chemical analysis, which was 22 pages long. And the second paper was a 3D analysis, which was basically trying to prove me a liar. They were looking for something that didn't add up, looking for distances, you know, how far away this was, how big it was. When they finished that analysis, John Ockertell, he's the head researcher, he and I had a video call, and he said, you've got all green ticks, Lynn, you've got a solid case here, because there's nothing you've said that doesn't add up. We've got a bunch of scientists, a bunch of physicists, mathematicians, 3D analysis, and they checked all the particles on a machine called a scanning electron microscope, which goes right down to the fragments and how it's broken up, how it's made, what's in it, and they did all the graphs. And I'm not a scientific person, so I found it hard to understand, which is why I wanted John to tell me what was going on in layman's terms, because I didn't know anything I didn't do science at school. And he explained it really well, but I was still bamboozled, thinking I really don't know what's in it. So it's 2.5 years now, and I still don't know what it was. We do know it was copper barium. We do know it was a pressure wave that hit me, the bang bang, and the pressure wave comes in and then it releases and comes out. We are pretty sure that the green stuff was plasma, which means something was in it. Let's go have another drink.
You're right.
Talking so much, it gets dry.
I know the feeling, it's fine. Yeah, you're right.
And then John said that if there was something in it, it was hidden because it was thick. I wondered what was in it, but I didn't see a spaceship or anything. I didn't see aliens. I felt it had intelligence. I knew it had seen me. There's no doubt about that. And I could sense it. Once all the testing was done, in one of the papers, it had another case like mine that they'd looked up on their database. And when I read, I got the case from John Ockertell, and I read about the case, which was in New South Wales in the Garland Valley. My case was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Their case was at 11 o'clock in the morning in a valley, and they were the only car. And when I saw their diagrams and the artist's impression, their green was the same as mine, and it was the same size, and it had sparkles in it, and it hit their car, and it had a double bang. I called mine a double thump. They said double bang. And they said that the double bang sounded like when you go over a speed hump and bang, bang with your wheels. And I thought, oh, that's very much like mine. And there was 4 people in that car, 2 little girls and mum and dad. And when they were talking about, in their report, about their fear, they felt like their thing had intelligence and their thing knew they were there. They felt like it knew them. And it went from left to right, same as mine. And it was about the same speed, but their episode lasted a lot longer. Mine was 5 seconds, which is why the book's called Redirected in 5 Seconds. But theirs lasted about 20 minutes. That night, when I finished reading their 49-page report, I thought they're credible people. They had fear. They couldn't sleep. I knew exactly what they were saying. I went to bed that night and I had the biggest lump in my throat. I thought, what the hell happened to me out there? And that was the day I decided I'd start writing a book, writing it all down. And John Ockertell said, yeah, write it down, get it out of you, because the ridicule was terrible. I put a post up on a meteor site, and all the comments started coming in, and they were all degrading, mean and nasty, and some were funny, some were nasty. And I took it down. I thought, I don't need to be told what I saw. I know what I saw. Roger from MUFON got involved with it, and he took the other third of the sample and sent it to America for the testing, but that didn't come back with anything on it. And then, unfortunately, the lady that was doing the testing died, and it didn't go any further. It was a pretty amazing story, really. So it's still ongoing now. They still haven't got an answer. But the sprinkling, they say that it was the ions, like the fourth state of matter, plasma. It had whatever happens to electrons and ions, they spray around the place, and then they reform. And he said it sounds like a sparkler fizzing. And that's how I would have described it, sparkler fizzing. But because I didn't have any black soot on my roof or no dents or no pitting, I thought, well, it couldn't have been hot. It must have been cold. And I didn't feel any heat, and I heard no sonic boom. I only saw it, the double bang, the push across the road, my hand flying off, the sprinkles, and the deja vu in the middle of it. So it wasn't just one thing. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all in a row. And that's when I connected the dots that day. I thought, that green thing was coming my way. It was coming for me. And if it had covered my vehicle, I wouldn't have seen the road. But on the other hand, if there was another car coming, they would have seen the green thing as well. They called it, in one of the papers, they called it a horizontal flight path, because the overhang of my vehicle, the most, if I sat forward under the overhang, the cab over, was a 25-degree angle. So it wasn't up high in the sky like I thought. It was above the trees. And I would say it was about 10 metres to 50 metres across. I would say it was away from me about a kilometre, maybe 2, maybe more, but it was this side of the clouds. And there was no noise. I didn't hear anything. I don't know. I just can't work out what it could have been. To this day, nobody knows. And nobody else saw it out there. I rang the police again later, and they said no more reports. I thought, damn, there's nothing that I can tell. I rang the council again and said, did you go out there? She said, yes, we did. And none of the council workers could see anything, and none of them on the road that day. There was about 15 of them on the road that day. And then when I got home, I decided to check on that phone call. I thought, oh, that's a bit odd. Maybe it was interference in my head screen on my vehicle. So I got my telephone bill from Telstra, and I asked them for all the radio towers so that I could suss out where it was. And I didn't realise I'd made that many calls or that many text messages. But my dad was on there, my son, my friend, and Steve, the guy I was seeing. They were all on there, but I didn't make a call out. There was just nothing there. So I rang this guy back, and I found out he worked in an airport. And I thought, oh, that's a bit odd. He works in an airport. I can't say the name or anything because it might involve him. But he wanted to talk to me, and he asked me to keep in touch and tell him what I found out. But he went silent, and I thought, oh, I think I'll leave this guy alone. What if he's Men in Black or something? So, I was a bit scared. And so this guy disappeared into the woodwork. But working at an airport, I think, was odd. And ringing me, I worked out from my telephone bill, and he did talk to me once, and he said the call came in 6 minutes before 1:02 when he called me. So that was 4 minutes to 1, which is what my time was, that I thought it was about 1 o'clock when this green thing came. So I thought, maybe it was interference. Maybe it was a scam. So I rang Telstra and said, could it be a scam? They said, yes, it could be a scam. And when I was checking the phone bill, the radio tower said it was in the Mangalore radio tower. And the previous tower was the Wyandra radio tower. And after that, I made some calls from the Charleville radio tower. So I knew it was Mangalore. So Mangalore's it's only a railway station that's old. It's not even there anymore. And I took note of the roads, and it was called Dalala Bridge Road. And there was a free camp out there. So 6 months later, I drove back and I went out to that site. And there was a river out there. And Roger Stankovic had asked me if there was any water out there. And I said, no, there's a creek. And he thought the creek was dry. But when I went back there was water in that creek. And I was looking out there thinking, I'll take some more samples of the dirt just in case. I was out there by myself, and I thought, I don't think aliens would like drinking water this dirty. And that was a strange thing to think. But I started believing that, there must be aliens in there. And then I turned around, I did a few U-turns, looking around the cow paddocks, and I'd heard about cattle mutilations. I thought, I'm near a cattle farm here. There's cow pats everywhere, and got a bit of dirt for Roger, and I did a few U-turns, looked over my shoulder, and I spun out because I was going like this, thinking I'm going to get out of here. So I went back to the main road, the bitumen, and I took some photos of the left-hand side of the road where it was, and I took some photos of the right-hand side paddock. And I knew I was in the right spot. I could feel it. And then I thought, I'm just going to get in the car and get out of here. I was actually scared that it might happen again. So I took off like a bat out of hell and went to Augathella again. And that's where I stayed that night. So that was only 6 months after. I wasn't really recovered at the time. I think in one way I was hoping it had come back so I could get a good look at it again. But it didn't happen. No, nothing happened.
Okay. No, that is incredible. It's absolutely phenomenal. Like I said earlier, it's a daytime experience there. Hang on, I'll put this back so we're actually talking to each other. It's absolutely amazing. And the fact that you saw this coming along, and like in my brain, because people who obviously watch the show, and I'm very critical, very analytical in what I try to observe and what I hear and whatnot. And it's hard to try and grasp what the hell this thing could be. And I'm pretty sure last time we spoke too, and it sort of racked my brain a bit too, and it sort of reminded me of a couple of questions that I probably did ask you too. And I think I asked a question of a possible fighter jet, raw or no, but you didn't hear any loud noise, like a jet noise or anything like that, because fighter jets are incredibly loud when they fly over you. And the only thing I could try and think of is when you see a fighter jet flying, and you got the distortion around it, it's going through the sound barrier. It's got a big distortion ring around it. That's the only thing I can think of. And are you seeing that possibly? And for maybe the light refraction through the vapors and whatnot is creating a bit of a green glow to it. That's the only thing I can try and think of that's as a plausible explanation. But the fact that you didn't hear any roaring, rumbling of a jet engine going over you, two distinct bangs of sorts. It's well, what the hell has caused that? And then the sprinkling over the top of the car is, I'm thinking, the dust and crap. If the jet did go over you, it's all kicking up all the dust and whatnot. It's gone over the top of the car, but your car would be filthy and covered in dust, And it's sort of that's that's just my plausible brain trying to work now, trying to figure out what the hell could possibly be this. But even though you said, you've swapped it over, you're not getting any sort of dust particles from the surrounding areas. You got copper barium, which is I even looked up the chemical compositions of jet fuel, and copper barium is not even one of the chemicals involved in jet fuel.
No.
So it's well, that's ruled out totally. And anything else, I can't think of anything else.
There was John from PRA. He actually went to USA and asked if there was anything that would use copper barium on their spacecraft or their rockets. I mean, you can't get to China or Russia or any of those places, and if it's secret military business, well, you're not going to find out. But he went to NASA, the Army, the Air Force, Johnson Space Centre, Stennis Space Centre. There's about 12 places he went, and all came back negative no copper barium, not in 80%, 20% compound. And the copper barium was altered. It was fragmented. I think that's what he called it, fragmented, which means it had a thermal change. So it didn't come from the ground up. It came from the atmosphere down. And that tail was behind it, was up and to the left. It was like I could just see part of the tail because it was behind the green blobby thing. But the fact you couldn't see through it, and the fact that I could have a look at it for that long and try and look into it, tells me it was pretty stationary. It wasn't like a meteorite that flashes and gone. It wasn't like space junk that, you see the little sparkles that's coming down through the atmosphere. It wasn't that. It was no sparkle. It was just solid, thick, gassy green. I keep thinking of Soylent Green, that movie, but it's nothing like the movie. But it was like if it was toxic, I would be dead.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I also didn't see it ahead. If it was up ahead and you're driving up, you should see it on the left, and as you pass it, your head will turn. But it wasn't there. It turned up from the left-hand side somewhere.
So, all right, I've got your images here. So let's go and run through this. So I'll go throw this up. So this is part of the rodeo. Just get this back on it properly. So where are we? Where are these? That's your book, obviously. And that's probably about the best distinction of what the objective.
Yeah, it didn't quite. I drew that myself, but it didn't quite have a point like that. You just take the little tip of the point off, and that's what it looked like. The same color. Right. It was mint green and glowing. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you say, it's quite large. Like
I think if it was over me, it would have covered the whole road from the left-hand gutter to the right-hand gutter. It wasn't like it's just a little ball of light. It would have covered me. If you can imagine driving into that ahead, that green on the book, that would have covered the vehicle up ahead.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it's quite a decent size.
Yeah, it wasn't small.
Yeah. So this is looking at your left-hand side of the car. So hang on, I'll show the car first so people can. There's your funny little photo. So that's your car. That's so everyone has an idea of what you're actually driving in. And obviously, you got the top end of the car here that sort of blocks a bit of a view from over top. But you still got a reasonable sort of view horizontally there.
Because it was on the left, and if I was sitting forward, I still can see the bottom of the cab over through the windscreen, because that sort of protects your windscreen a bit, and rain doesn't get you on the top part of the windscreen. But it was right in the corner, and the next picture you'll see where I've got quite a big reversing camera stuck to the rear view mirror.
I don't think I've got that one. Is that it there?
Yeah, you got it back. You went back. Just go back a bit. There, that one. Yep. Just go back.
So, hang on, sorry, this one.
Yes, that one. See how I've got quite a big reversing camera mirror there. So it had to be between the mirror, the cab over that you can see up the top there, and the handle, the grab handle when you get out the door. So it's only that little bit there. So it was far enough to see that it was round through there. But mind you, I'm taking that photo from outside the vehicle, holding the camera. But inside it's a bit different. So it was in that little corner there. So I couldn't see the end of the tail because that cut it off.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, bugger. So you made a little fun. I think you mentioned that you're taking a photo.
I should tell that story. This was 3 hours later. In fact, this is the real picture. I was going up to see, my boyfriend, and I wanted him to see how happy I was that I was nearly there. One more sleep, darling, big smile, can't wait to see you. My face, I couldn't move my mouth, and it was stuck. And I thought, my face is not moving. Why is my face, stuck like this? It felt like paralyzed. And it was a hot day because I had the air conditioning off because I was testing out my mileage. And the hot day, I was red. It was 100 degrees, like 37 degrees. That's hot. And I was all blotchy and hot and bothered. And I didn't know what had happened. But even though it was 3 hours later, I still couldn't move my face. And I thought that was odd. So I deleted 2 of the photos and I never sent him the photo. It was that bad. I thought, I'm not sending him that. He don't want to see that. Yeah. You can see, if you look at the sunglasses, you can see the road.
Oh, yeah, good. Yes, yep.
Mm.
Yeah. Sorry to throw you under the bus like that with that image. I was like, oh, whoops, I've actually accidentally thrown that one in there.
I look a bit better now.
Absolutely. No, a day over 21.
No. and that picture there is the spot that I went back to later. I took the photo. So it was above those trees and bigger than the biggest tree there.
Yeah. Wow.
And then when I looked at the next photos, when I looked out to the right, what it looked like in the dry paddock. So that's looking behind me backwards, what I would have seen in the rear vision mirror. So if anything had landed in there, or puff of smoke, or a meteorite crashed, or flames or sparks or something green, or a whirlwind even, I would have seen it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely would have. It's very clear to see. Like, you got a decent view.
Yeah, I had a good view. And that ground that you can see, that was before the road works. They've now widened that road, so you can see it's quite skinny. And the reason I didn't want to do a U-turn straight away is because that gutter on both sides was a ditch. And you never know if the ground is wet or wet underneath. It might look dry, but I didn't want to do a U-E out there.
Yeah, which is fair enough. So just kind of, what is that? Is that like a pipe, like a water line or something, or what's that?
That's a tree. Oh, no, that's just, when they dig the roads and it overgrows.
Oh, righto.
Like the water probably ran, when they have a lot of water out there, it probably runs along and creates its own little ditch.
Yep, no, fair enough. Okay. So let's go. All right, so here's your point of perspective here. So run us through this one.
Yeah, this, if you can see where the red lines meet near the window, that's me sitting, that's me sitting forward. So when I told everybody that this green thing was 45 degrees up in the sky, I was measuring it from the ground up. So you can see the yellow line. Well, that's what I was thinking was 45 degrees. But when the scientist said it's taken from your eye level on a 25 degrees to the horizontal, it was only a 25 degree level up to the sky, which means it wasn't coming straight down. It was nearly horizontal.
Yep.
It was coming over those trees. But
yeah, wow.
Not being a scientist, I just thought 45 degrees from the ground. You stand, that's what happens. And I didn't realise that for the first 6 months until I went back there and I was standing out by the car taking those photos. I thought, oh, it was horizontal. And that's when I got scared. I thought, oh, what did I see out there? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's all right. It makes total sense. Yeah, because like that, pod up top there is going to take up a lot of view, as you mentioned before. So you're definitely not going to get that 45-degree angle here.
No. When you look out the windscreen in that photo, you can see that there's no way I saw 45 degrees up.
Yeah, that's all right. And what else got here? So there, all
right. That's the best I could do. I'm not a very good drawer. Everybody laughs at my trees. But
they're very cute.
Yeah, they are cute. So you got my steering wheel there, the road, going in straight road, and then a little couple of wispy clouds. And I just wrote on there 1 p.m, 37 degrees, 4-kilometre breeze. That's what the Bureau of Meteorology had told me that morning, because I always check. And then that green thing, you can see the bulge on the left-hand side, a little bulge, and little bits in it at the bottom that's, just in there. And I thought that, but they didn't come out. It was like it had a defined edge. It wasn't like clouds or fluffy on the edge. It had a defined edge, like it had a skin on it. But it was green. But why the bulge? Oh, I got no idea. I think there was something in there.
Yeah.
And I thought, at the time, I remember thinking, oh, it's a camouflage. It's something in there. It's a camouflage for what's really there. But I never saw it again to have a decent look again. It was because I hit my car and I was too busy trying to keep my car straight.
Yeah. No, it's interesting though. So people claim that they're sort of got like a, as you said, like a camouflage. And do you think that's possibly what it was? Like some sort of, oh, well, I'm lost for words now for some reason.
Like a
Some
smoke
sort of
screen.
like a cloaking sort of film
Yeah.
across it?
I at the time, I remember thinking it's a smoke screen. It's a smoke screen, so I can't see something.
Yeah.
And that's the funny smoke screens. You don't use that word very often. I wouldn't have called it camouflage straight away. I would have said smoke screen. And
Yeah.
and I thought there was something hard in it, but of course, when it's green and it's got a tail, the first thing you're going to think of is meteorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you would think. So when I went to bed that night at Augathella, I write in a diary every night where I stayed, how much the free camp was, or the camp costs were, how much the petrol was that day, where I got the petrol from, what my mileage was. And in my book, I looked a bit later and I wrote down the word meteorite in the book.
Yeah. Wow.
And I thought,
Yeah.
wow, I've been hit by a meteorite. I can't wait to tell the world I hit by a meteorite. And then I thought, well, what if it's not a meteorite? What if it's satellite debris? And I thought, that's even more bizarre. And I knew Starlink and all that was up there. And I thought, oh, I can't wait to tell everybody. But once I got to PRA and they gave me the papers, the first two papers with the copper barium, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to be quiet until I find out what this is, because I didn't want to tell a porcupine and tell everyone that I got hit by a meteorite when I didn't. So I had to keep quiet for a long time. And I still don't know what I got hit by, but it pushed my car.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a push straight across. It was a push. I was driving forward, so it was across the road. And the wheels, when I went to turn back, when it took the steering wheel out of my hand, I went to turn back and the wheels were turned to the right. And down the bottom of the right, the gutter at the right was very deep. And I thought, if I rolled in there, I'd be dead duck.
Yeah. No, so it was like a pretty hard push then. Like it wasn't just like a gradual sort of push, or no, it's like a quick like a big shunt of
Yeah,
sorts.
it was fast. I was there before I knew it. I don't remember getting to the other side of the road, but I do remember the thump and my hand coming off. And then I realised my wheels were turned. And I must admit, I started to think, was I abducted and they put me back down?
That was
But I
going
don't.
to relate to a couple of my questions there. Like, you did take notice at the time, didn't you?
Yes. No, I didn't at the time. I looked at the GPS and got the coordinates, and I knew it was 51 to 54 Ks before Charleville. But what gave me the time was that guy that called me at
Yes.
1:02 p.m. And I knew it was straight after because I couldn't get him off the phone fast enough. It really annoyed me. I thought, get off the phone, buddy. I knew it was close, within a few minutes of that call. So when I did talk to him in the end, he said it was 6 minutes before he rang me, because he was on another call at the time and my call come through. And I said, did you punch in my number, or did you just press return this call? And he said, no, I didn't punch in your number. I returned your call. So he had the right number.
Yeah.
But then working in an airport, I thought, oh, were they tracking something? Don't think so.
A connection here, yeah. So, going from that time frame there, like you said, it's about 54 Ks, which is probably about what, a half hour, 40-minute drive still to get to Charleville. And
Yeah.
did that match up in that time frame, you think?
Did it what?
Did it match up in that time frame from the encounter to getting to town?
Yes, it did. And I was out in my vehicle one day when I got back to Adelaide, and I went out to clean my motorhome, and I found a plastic bag in there, and it said, I left the supermarket at 2:12 p.m. And I don't keep supermarket dockets, but it was in the bag. And I thought, well, how could I go from the site to the roadworks, the phone call, stopped and looked at my car, got to Charleville, got lost, looked up Google about 5 times, went to the supermarket, got 10 random items and got back in my car. That was 2:12. So from 4 minutes to 1 to 2:12 is not long to do all that. So I got back in the car 6 months later and I took the measurements from Adelaide to where I was. I took the measurements from the Dallala waterhole and Baker's Bend. I found the roadworks. I measured them. It was 2.2k long. I timed myself first. I stopped again, recreated the whole scene all the way back to the supermarket. And I sat in my car and I calculated how many minutes had gone past. And I was only 2 minutes out from what I calculated back in Adelaide. So I thought I wasn't abducted. I don't have any missing time.
Yeah, so that definitely rules that out then. That's why I sort of asked the question if it all matched up. And the fact that you actually went back and tried to investigate into your own encounter there and trying to make sure, things are all lining up here and whatnot, that's incredible. Like, a lot of people don't do that. They just go, I had a incredible experience, I don't know what happened, or blah, 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 and this is it. And very rarely will you get that one person go and trying to figure out what the hell just happened to them. So I've got to give you a bit of a bit of kudos for that one. That's absolutely marvelous work.
And I always wanted to be an investigator, right? That's what I wanted to do. And I had my chance. But when I took that sample, there's something about taking that sample. I knew I had something. Yeah. Just before I sent it to PRA to get tested, I took it to the post office and I paid for registered post, and it didn't get there. I thought, oh no, the government stepped in. They've taken it to America, and I've just lost the most important sample in the world. I've lost the sample for humanity. And I went back to that place I posted it from, and I said, can you track this? And she said, no tracking number. And I said, but I paid registered post for this, and there's no tracking number. And she looked and looked and looked. And I can remember it was a chemist, and I remember walking out thinking, they just lost the most important evidence for mankind. And I was distraught. But then PRA got it 2 days later. It took a week to get there.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, you'd have been ropeable, wouldn't you? Being like, what? Oh. Was there something that, like, did someone take it? Does someone know what's going on and, stealing it? It's not the first time I've heard it happen, so.
Yeah, I was thinking, PRA have got it. They found something on it. They're not going to tell me. And then I was thinking, someone's stolen it. It must be the government. What if it's Men in Black? I had all these thoughts going through my head. So when they rang up and said it arrived, I thought, oh, you beauty. And then I was just waiting for the call to say, well, you've got bugs and red sand and dirt and a few leaves on your car. But it didn't. It said, well, we do have a mystery. You encountered something unusual. Yeah. And then the lovely man that sent it to me said a bit further down, he said, so you can scratch it off that, no, you're not nuts.
Yeah, that's all right. That's the best part too.
That's the best part. I thought, oh, this is really good. I'm not nuts, because everybody was thinking I was nuts.
Yeah, well, as you would. Like, this is quite a phenomenal experience that you've had, and who would want to believe that? Like, it's like, nah, you're full of shit. Like, it's incredible. Like, it sounds far fetched, but the fact that you've gone back through it, that you even took samples there to try and back up your story, which has worked out in your favor. Usually there's not much of evidence-wise when it comes to people's encounters there, which, makes it even more far-fetched when people try and tell their stories, because there's nothing to back it up. And the fact that you've actually found something, which is really incredible. But one question I do have to ask, I know it's a bit late now, but did you ever think to try and maybe take samples from the radiator?
Didn't occur to me.
Yeah.
Well, I looked at the radiator because, well, not the radiator, but the grill.
The grill, yeah.
Because when you run into locusts in a plague, you'll have them splattered everywhere, right? Stuck in the grill. So I did check the grill because there was nothing in there. And I was expecting to see lots of green bugs, but there wasn't any. And I thought that was odd. But when I pulled up to check my roof, I pulled up to a little mound of dirt and I drove up to it and I climbed the mound of dirt so I could see the roof, because my motorhome's 3.1 metres high and you can't see from just standing down. So I walked up this hill and I looked, and my satellite dish was there and I couldn't see any dents, no black stuff, no burn marks, nothing there. And I thought, oh, God, thank God, because it would have cost thousands of dollars to get fixed if there was big damage to a motorhome like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to pay anything out. That would hurt.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't think insurance is really going to cover that. Going, well, how'd you do that? But yeah, big green ball came flying by and hit my van.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
cool story, guys.
Like when I got home and everybody thought I was nuts, I went to a psychiatrist because of nightmares, and I was trying to tell him about this green thing, and he didn't want to know, and he fell asleep in the chair. And I thought, this is great. He's just got his eyes shut, not listening. And I thought, that's not very nice. And then I went to my doctor and I tried to tell him, and because I wanted him to check me for alien implants because I was scared. And and I thought, I thought better of it. I thought maybe I'll just tell him my story. And I was telling him, and he got the blood pressure cuff out and took my blood pressure and changed the subject. And on Thursday, 2 days' time, I'm taking him a copy of the book just to really push it home.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So I do have a question here from Joanna. So thanks for joining me, Joanna. So question for you is this moving object. You mentioned it was a possible meteor that would have involved considerable speed from left to right. So was this or moving? So yes, it was moving left to right. So on that note, like from seeing the actual object to passing by, like that, it would have been considerably fast. Like I know you're saying it's like 5 seconds from like the moment of when it actually made the banging noise, was it? Or was it like a bit more time before you saw it?
No, first of all, I saw it and had a really good look at it, trying to figure out what it was, going through the process.
Yeah,
I'd
so what's
say
the
that
time frame you think of that? Like, yeah,
I think
sorry, you're right.
about 1.5 seconds,
Yeah,
I would say. And then, because my brain was going around fast, it was in fight and flight. I wasn't sitting around just doodling. I was trying to figure it real fast because I didn't know what the danger was. But when I looked away from it to the road, I never saw it again. So I would have seen it probably 2 seconds at the real outside because I had to put my eyes back on the road. But when I was pushed over there, I wasn't looking at this thing because I was looking at the gutter on the right. I was looking at my hands. I was thinking I better steer it back to the other side of the road. By then, I was already numb. I was already in shock. I didn't think to look again for the green thing. I just thought, well, I'm alive. I haven't died out here. So from the green thing, seeing it to the double bang would have been about 2 seconds. And then the double bang to the sprinkles would have been probably 2 seconds. And then the looking out the side mirror, I probably wouldn't count that in the 2 seconds. It would be just outside of the 5 second range because I looked twice. I went to look out the right-hand side, but the motorhome body juts out further than the cab. So I couldn't see far enough. So then I decided I'd look in the rear vision, and I had 2 looks in there. I had the look from sitting back, and then I leant forward to look right back in the paddock, and because I didn't want to miss out on seeing a meteorite land. I was going to go out and make myself rich and find the meteorite.
yeah. Plus, cool little antique, little thing to carry around. Because like, how often do you come across a meteorite?
And
People spend a lot of their lives there trying to look for meteorites, digging them up and that. And like, and one just like, let alone seeing it come down and actually going to pick one up would have been absolutely awesome.
Yeah, well, I joined the meteorite group on Facebook since that day. His name's David, and I sent him the picture, and he said, "No, it's not a meteorite." And I was really mad because I said, "Well, it is a meteorite. I know it's a meteorite, and you said it's not." And that was when I didn't know anything. So I started researching meteorites, and I still do. And in Adelaide, where I live, we've got a dark sky area at the River Murray. I go up there and I'm looking at meteorites all the time. And I've seen them since in daytime with tails, like little vapor tail things. And it's nothing like it. It's just not a meteorite. No. And the fact that PRA said it was the wrong trajectory, it was the wrong speed, and they tested all the particles looking for meteorites in it, and it's just not meteorite. And when they wrote to me, they said it is not underlined meteorite.
Yeah. No, that's rules all that out. So, sorry, just go through the comments here. So I got Joanna again going, perhaps Min Min lights. It is a region where they do occur. So what's your thoughts on that one?
Okay, this is a good one because I thought that too, and I looked up min min lights, and I thought, no, it didn't act like a min min light. They're too small. I know what they do. They move away, and also min min lights are usually in the night time, not daytime.
Yeah.
And the scientists checked on ball lightning for me because there was no lightning that day, no thunder. They've got a whole weather report on this, and they said no, it was definitely not ball lightning. And I thought, min min light. So when I went back, this is funny. When I went back to the second time, I stopped at Wyandra and I went into the hotel and I got hold of the manager and I said, is there anyone that lives in this area that can tell me about strange things out here? And he said, I'm writing a book and I'd like to put it in the book. And I met these two guys on the veranda having a few beers. And I said, do you ever see any strange lights out here? Knowing that they'd bite at that because it's a great question. And they said, no, but we've seen strange cars and we think the kids think there's a monster in the Delala waterhole and they're taking the mickey out of me. And I said, have you ever seen any strange lights though? And they said, you mean the Min Min lights? They said, not around here, but they are at Boulia. And I knew where Boulia was. So I drove up to Boulia at the end of last year and I went to the Min Min Light Centre. I didn't see a Min Min light. And I was...
Bugger.
Yeah, I know. And I went there and I didn't see it. Then I went to a little hotel just after Boulia and I met a man I like having a drink at the bar. And I met this man and he came out from the bush and he looked like he'd lived out there for 1,000 years. And I said, oh, what do you do here? And he said that he lives way out and he shoots kangaroos and he lives off kangaroos and he lives in a tin shed. And he'd been out there for 30 years. And I asked him about Min Min lights and he said, yes. He said, they're out there. I've seen them. And he was convinced that what they were was from gas coming up from like fracking and the gas coming up and making a ball of light. He was convinced that's what it was. And he said, you can wipe all the other stories out. And I thought, oh, well, I've heard it from the horse's mouth. But I think Min Min lights are usually like a bright light, like a headlight. And mine was green and it was glowing. And it pushed me. So I don't know what it was.
Yeah, like you said, like Min Min's a nighttime thing that I'm aware of. Don't think there's ever really been any stories of seeing them during the day or maybe in the early mornings or late evenings, sort of like going before dawn and dusk, after dusk, I mean. So yeah, I think we can definitely rule out Min Min lights on that one there. But then there's also claims too there where people say that Min Min lights are actually intellectual. Like there's not intellectual. Now what's my word? Intelligent. Yeah, there's a bit of intelligence between them. Yeah, like they've got some sort of movements that is deliberate. So I guess that's sort of I think that more rules that out more than anything. But yeah, it's just an amazing, incredible sort of story. And still, what the hell was it?
Yeah, I know. And John from PRO, we talk every week, and he said to me the other day, he said, you're still the holder of a mystery. We still don't know. And there's a whole team of scientists in that place and, real physicists and scientists, and they've got connections to NASA and all the rest of it. And Roger Stankovic, he couldn't work it out either. But there was one thing they all say. If I hadn't have taken that sample, I wouldn't have had a case.
No.
It'd be my word against everybody else's.
Now, you mentioned the other family that had seen a similar thing too. Like, what was the time frame between that one there, like between your counter to theirs?
Theirs was 6 years before me, so it was 2017.
Yeah. Was it the same area? I can't remember what you said. If it was the same area or not.
No, it's a different area. It's in New South Wales, and it's over near Port Macquarie Way, heading between Adelaide and Port Macquarie, in a little place, Putty Road on Garland Valley. It is. I had to look it up because I have driven along Putty Road, and I was busy looking at the cows because I was looking for dead ones with mutilations that day because it's scary stuff. And I often think, did that green thing think that it wanted to get me and cut me up.
Well, I think it's possible.
Because I was in cattle country. Yeah,
Yeah.
and this other family, they had two little girls in the car, and it chased them, and it went over their car and did a double bang, and it scared them. The little girls were screaming, and it took off on the other side of the car, and it rolled up a hill. So it didn't just go and disappear. They saw it roll up a hill. So it went behind some trees or through some trees. And when I saw their artist impression of the green thing, and it was glowing, and it was the same green, and they said it was like a pastel green, and I thought that's about right. Like on that photo the drawing I did with the color pencils, that's like that green's not the green because that's all I had in color pencils. But on that picture, I did in the end, I did the color itself, a light mint green. You know the phone covers, this cover?
Yeah.
Color, that.
Yeah, right.
So it's sort of like my drawing, isn't it?
It is very close to it, actually.
So that's why I bought the phone cover, because it's the same color. But I called it the green thing because I didn't have any words to describe it, and because there is nothing, you can't describe it.
Yeah. So, with that family, like, where did the report come from? So I'm just trying to backtrack here a little bit on that report. So where's that report come from?
The paper number one that PRA did, they have a big database. So they put certain words in and it brings up cases that are similar so they can compare. 4 cases come up in Australia, but they mentioned that the Melong ball, which is what that little town was called, Melong, was very much like my case. And I didn't see that in the report at first. I was too busy looking at the chemistry analysis and stuff. And when I reread it, I thought, oh my God, this is a case like me. And I can remember John on our video call, he was telling me that there was a case with some people in a car that the ball had gone past them and up a hill. And I thought, well, that's a bit of, crap. That didn't happen. I just wiped it under the table. But when I read it in my paper, I thought, oh, I'll see if I can get the paper. So PRA did that investigation, and PRA sent me the report, which I am allowed to talk about. The people, I don't know who they are. All their names were redacted, and we don't know where those people have gone. But if the kids were around the 12-year-old or 10-year-old mark back then, they would have to be around the 18 mark now.
Yeah, righto.
I'd love to see them, but unfortunately they didn't take a sample of their car because they didn't think to, and you don't think of taking a photo because you're too rattled to take the photo.
Yeah.
And you have, when you're driving, you can't get your phone out and take although I took one of myself.
Yeah.
But you couldn't have it was too quick.
Yeah, like yours was about 10 seconds worth total.
I'd say 5 seconds from the green thing to the sprinkles. And after that, I looked out the window. I'd probably add another couple of seconds. I was pretty fast because I didn't want to miss it.
Yeah.
I was waiting for a big puff of smoke with green flames or fire or sparks or, something hitting the ground. Or a dust, like a whirlwind with dust, and it's all green because there was leaves in it, but there was nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. It's just actually quite incredible that someone else had a similar encounter as well. So it's obviously something that's been happening. So hopefully this gets out a bit further, and people are going to go, "Hey, I have had something similar," and then next month's going to be a bit of a trail case here happening that's been happening maybe possibly Australia wide. Never know.
Yeah.
And hopefully these girls might come across this and go, "Hey, that was us. Hello," and reach out. Hoping.
Yeah. Well, they might see it in my book, or they might see it on the TV or whatever they're going to see it on. But if they've taken a sample and that was copper barium, well, you'd have a big proof, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. And it's still going to be the question of like, what the hell is involved with copper barium? Like, what are they using, or what's, what is it? The fuel? Is it something to do with the cloaking materials or something like? You just don't know. Like, and I guess that's going to be one of those ruling out all possibilities and trying to figure it out kind of thing.
The bulge I thought was funny. Imagine if there was something in there and it was coming my way, and then the bulge on the left that you can see, what if it decided to, it changed its mind and took off the other direction away from me? So the propulsion bulge, it might have been a propulsion bulge in the middle of that green thing. Yes, you see the little bulge I drew in dark green?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it was coming towards me and then it went to the right and took off.
Well, it's very possible. I was sort of maybe thinking it could have possibly been like the cockpit, or what if something is flying it, something's in there, and that's like just a little bit of a window or something like that, and this is like the actual body of the craft, maybe. And then the trail is possibly, something part of the cloaking that's, trailing a bit behind it. It's just all speculation, and trying to
Mm.
guess what everything is.
Well, I haven't slept for 2.5, nearly 3 years trying to think about it, but I haven't figured it out. But it wasn't the colour of the leaves of the trees either. It was a different green. It was just mint, light mint
Yeah.
green. And I keep thinking, when I first wrote it on Facebook to my friends, I wrote a mint green, gassy plume, cloud-like thing. That's the best I could describe it back then. And I put it on Facebook, and the last words I said on Facebook just after was, I'm going to investigate this, keep watching this space. And of course, then the comments from friends came in and I took it down because they
Yeah.
weren't going to believe me.
No, so I'm just going to show you a video here quickly of like so I'm trying to think of plausible explanations here, and this is what I'm sort of trying to imagine it um, as some sort of reasonable explanation, but it still doesn't equate for anything of that you mentioned. But you'll see where, from my perspective of things, where I'm trying to figure it out. Where are we? That one there. Get that up. And that's not working. Why'd that not work? Oh, hang on. We'll do that. Aha! Ta-da! So, was playing. Here we go. Can't zoom in. So, see how you got the distortion around the jet?
Yes.
And that's where I'm trying to think of, as an explanation to what you're seeing. Because, like, you did mention, like, you got the bit of a bulge there. That could have been the jet. And then, obviously, because you got the distortion around it, and maybe light refraction causing a bit of a greenish sort of plume to it. It's that's the only thing I can think of as a plausible explanation to what you're seeing. But the fact is that you mentioned there's no noise that even sounded remotely like a fighter jet. There's no fuel compositions of the chemical basis on your car, which totally just rules it all out.
Well, we thought, I thought flares, but flares come from the ground. I thought fireworks, because fireworks can be green, you got the green, but it didn't have any, there was something missing out of it, like chlorate percolate or something or other that they call it, and it wasn't in there. The fact that the little particles were all over my cab over, they weren't over the bonnet, they were over my cab. But I don't know, there's a big chemical thing that I can't understand. I've asked at least 1,000 questions of John trying to work it out, but he did send me a Bunsen burner when they burn copper barium, and it's the same colour. And I didn't see that until probably a year and a half later. He kept that quiet because I didn't do chemistry. I didn't know what colour it burnt. But when he showed me, I thought, that's the colour. So it sort of confirms that whatever I saw was that colour.
Yeah. So this is what we go to for when, like, if you're observing the night sky as well and you see a meteorite that is green and burns up, that's made of copper. And that's why you get the green flame. So that all adds up to the meteorite theory, but you're not going to see the green when it comes as close as what it was to you. So again, it rules out the old meteorite theory again.
And I go out there all the time now, and I see lots of meteorites, and I've seen space junk. I've seen, the space station, the ISS, I've seen it. The Chinese space station, I know where the Magellanic clouds are. I've learned a lot. I've seen auroras now. Nothing is anywhere near it. And I've seen
Yeah.
lots of videos on meteorites. And if that thing was that close to me, just above those treetops, it was coming my way, I would have been smashed up.
Yeah, it would have absolutely made some damage. Absolutely. You could have said goodbye to the half of your car at least.
Yeah, I would have probably been dead.
Yeah,
And,
well, even
and
that too. Yeah.
and when I got to Lara Station to work, I thought, I'm really glad I'm here, because I did feel like I was going to die. And I think that's where the fight and flight came in, to get away. But the fear didn't actually hit, the whole impact didn't hit me until probably 7 weeks later when I came home. I just wanted to come home. I wanted to be in my own space.
Yeah. No, which is fair enough, because a lot of people, like, when they genuinely experience something as, phenomenal like what you've explained, you go into a bit of a state of shock. You're sort of like, what the hell was I seeing? But like, there's also then after that, once you've like sort of like gone after the shock, you're like, what am I seeing? What have I seen? And then
Mm,
you start wanting asking questions, don't you? You're like, I
mm,
want to see it again. Like you said, you want to go
mm.
back there and you want to see it again. And like, I need to confirm what I've seen. Like I'm questioning my own mentality here, because I'm going silly here, thinking I've seen something that's possibly a UFO of some sort, but by rights, they're not supposed to exist. 'Cause everyone thinks you're bloody crazy when you see something like
Yeah.
that. So then you
It was-
start, you begin questioning your own mentality
yeah,
on this, your
yeah.
insanity.
And when I went back the second time, I was driving out there and I was asking the universe to send it again. Can you do it again? Can you do it again? Come on, you can do it again. And it didn't do it, of course. But every cloud that looked weird, I was looking at, and I was waiting for something to pop its head behind it. And then in the paddocks, there's a lot of old machinery and paddocks out there, like old rusty stuff. And I'm checking out everyone. Oh, is that a UFO? Has it landed? And I'm thinking not normal. By the time I'd thought about it for 6 months to a year, I thought, I'm just going crazy trying to work out what it was, and I gave up. And I leave it to the scientists now. They'll have to figure it out. But yeah, that it doesn't nothing makes sense. And I still wake up in the middle of the night and I think, what the hell was that? And my eyes pop open because I think, oh yeah, it was green and it was made that sound. Yeah.
Reliving it.
But I'm sort of happy about it now. I wasn't happy for a while, but now I feel privileged and it's opened my eyes, and I've had a lot of good conversations. I've met some new people. I feel like I fit in my tribe. Um, I've learned a lot about science. I've learned a lot about the elements. I didn't know what an element was. I didn't know that the periodical table of elements existed. I really didn't. I only knew copper was on pipes, and that was it.
Yeah.
Mm,
As you do.
mm.
No. So, quick question. So before we go, Miss Shelley, thanks for joining us again there, Shelley. It's good to see you again. Um, have you spoken to Preston Dennett? He does heaps of people experiences and such.
No, I haven't spoken to him. I do know who he is. Um, Rowan Bowe, who wrote a book. He wrote the foreword in her book. So I knew
Mhm.
who he was. No, I haven't spoken to him. I'm sure he's probably heard about it by now. But he does a lot of cases. He does a lot of stuff on Facebook, mentioning all the
Yeah.
cases he sees. But no,
Yeah.
I haven't talked to him personally. I'm
No,
sure
that's all
it'll
right.
get around.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you'll probably get a call at some point. But yeah, look, it's absolutely amazing phenomena, and it's absolutely incredible more than anything. It's mind blowing
Mm,
that,
mm,
and hopefully it does get out, and people have had this encounter before, and they do reach out and go, "Hey, look, I'm really hoping that there's more people who can relate to this anyway, and bringing them forward with their sort of encounter as well." So look, where are we? I've lost myself now. I want this one. No, not that one. Sorry, pushing buttons here and get your thing back up there. Where has that gone? Got to do some weird stuff on this thing sometimes, and just like goes all over the place. So let's get that back up there. So this is your no, that's your book. Here it is. So
yeah,
this is
that's
your
it.
book. So which is available for purchase on Amazon. Is there anywhere else that's available as well, or is it just Amazon?
No, not unless you come to Adelaide and I'll sign it for you.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, look, there you go. If you're in Adelaide, guess you can get
In
yourself a
Adelaide,
signed
I
copy.
would, yeah. And it took 2.5 years to write it, but the hardest chapter was the chapter about the real adventure that day, because I had to get that right, and I had to go inside my feelings to be able to write that. So that was the hard part, writing the true story, which is the whole thing is the true story.
It would have been an emotional train ride.
Oh, train wreck. Yeah. Yeah, it started off as a scary thing to do, write the story. But as I got going, I learned how to write. I learned how to portray. I got told by someone, I won't mention names, that it was crap. So I started again. I ditched 13,000 words and started again. And then I had to learn to edit, and I didn't have any help from anyone, but it came out really good in the end. I'm very proud of it. It's not a big book, but it tells the whole story, and it's got a little bit of a story about the outback in there.
Yep.
What it's like traveling by yourself.
Yeah, well, that's another thing too. Like, you're out by yourself a lot, and and it's a shame. Like most stories, there's no other witnesses. That's the frustrating part.
And that van on the picture, that's the actual van.
Yep.
And that road is Lara Station, where I was actually heading to go to work. So that's the road into Lara Station.
Yeah,
it's
nice.
not on the day because I didn't take photos, but that's the sort of road I like driving on.
Yep. Yeah, wonderful. So Shelley's asking, where can we buy your book? So if you want to go get a personal copy there, I think you're down Adelaide way there, Shelley, by all means go down there and get yourself a signed copy. Get in touch with Lynn, or you can buy it off Amazon. The Amazon sites there, which is, I think it was like $25. I think it was.
Yeah, $24.99. And I also did an e-Kindle. I managed to do an e-Kindle as well, which is $6.99.
Oh, excellent.
And if you've got e-Kindle, you can put it download it to your phone or your tablet or your Kindle reader. So that took a bit of working out, but it's if you get the Kindle, you get the photos in color.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, there's a few photos in there.
Wonderful. Have you thought about putting it into an audio version yet?
No, I did look it up. It was someone said $3,000 to do that, and I thought, well, you can.
Bloody hell!
Yeah, Kindle can read it to you too. If you got Kindle, you got an audio. You get a funny lady's voice, but you get it read to you.
Oh, that's pretty good though. Oh, look, you can read that yourself as well. That saves you $3,000.
And when people read it, they say to me that most common comment is, I can hear you telling the story, Lynn, because I've got a distinctive Australian accent, and they can hear me telling the story. Yeah, it's good.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So hang on a second, just going through this one there. So you've got this wonderful quote too for this. Which is absolutely incredible. I love this little quote you've got in there. So where is that gone?
It's right at the front of the book, and it was amazing how I thought of the words, but I did. And that was the last thing I wrote in the book, was the first part of the book.
Yeah, I thought it was actually on the back of the book, but it's not.
No, it's not on the back of the book. I just sent it to you.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. So that's probably where I read it. Anyway, you can say your quote by all means. Like, please share it.
I wrote on the front page, the very first page, I wrote, if you open this book with a closed mind, I hope you close this book with an open mind.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely marvelous, because a lot of people are going to be looking at this going, what the hell am I looking at here? And obviously, in the hopes that they do actually read it and be intrigued and go, wow, okay, maybe there is a lot of truth to this. It's a really awesome, wonderful sort of quote, and I really like it.
I wrote it from the heart, and I wrote it with as much emotion as I could. I've never written a book before, so it was a big thing to do. But I think it came out really well, and it's got other bits and pieces in there as well, which is to do with the way I think. Yeah. And the fact that I was out there by myself. I didn't want anyone else. I wanted people to know that you're not alone in this. If you've got something unexplainable, you need to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the worst part too, because people get so clogged up in what they've seen, they don't understand it, and then they'll sit on for years, or even for the rest of their
mm,
life, and without saying anything about their experiences or encounters. And there's a lot of history gone when people don't want to talk about this sort of thing. So that's yeah, like I was saying earlier, like it's in hopes to try and encourage people to come forward if they have had something similar in this sort of nature. It's not a scary topic. Like, yeah, sure, people are going to be a bit, uh, yeah, I guess skeptical on the idea that something is out there and people are experiencing these things. And it's not to say that there are some crazy people out there in the UFO community, but not everyone. I'm talking to you right now. You're full sanity. Or, well, you can say
yeah,
your
I
sanity's all there. You know.
suppose.
There's not one person that comes across as crazy. It's
No. Well, it makes you feel crazy at first.
yeah,
Um, I didn't feel too good for a while there, especially some of the thoughts I had, like at the supermarket when I asked the girl where the Woolworths was, and she said it was here 8 years ago. I'm like, oh, right.
Have you had got missing time and been gone for 8 years?
Yeah, I was thinking that, but then it's a silly thing to think. And then thinking about the dirty water, would the aliens like drinking dirty water this dirty? I thought that's a strange thing to think. Mm,
Oh, look, it's amazing what you can sort of think when you're sort of in that sort of mindset. Like it's all possible because there are
mm,
reports of them. These crafts coming down, taking water from dams and such like that. It's like, well, why are you taking it from there for? Well, that's like pretty dirty water, man. Like, I'm sure you
mm,
can get some cleaner water from the big water towers in town or something like that.
mm,
That's
mm,
that'd be a
mm.
place to go. But don't
Yeah,
know. It sort of sends you in a bit of a crazy mindset, really, and
yeah.
it just makes you
And
question absolutely everything.
I didn't follow UFOs or anything like this before this happened. I didn't know a thing, but I'm still on a big learning curve. I have a problem with the cattle mutilation thing because I was going to a cattle station to work, and now I'm thinking, oh, what if they came to chop me up? But
Yeah,
yeah, my poor brain just couldn't cope with that.
yeah. So if anyone's got any quick questions there before we finish up there, please get them in the comments very quickly there. Because one of the things I sort of reminded too when you talking about old mate giving that phone call, it sort of jotted my memory too, and I think I mentioned the same thing to you as well. That around that time, I don't know how they're doing it, but hackers were using people's phone numbers there to go and call people everywhere. Because I've had the same thing too, where someone's ringing me, I've gone, "Hey, I missed a phone call from you. Like, what's up?" I was like, "I haven't called you.
Mm,
Like, what are you on about?
mm,
I don't even know who you are or why you called me." And like, they're like, "Oh, right, it's your number, so you've called me." It's like, "No, I haven't called you at all." And I've had
mm,
that quite a few times, and I'm sure a lot of people in the last few years have probably experienced that same thing as well. Going, well, "Why are you
mm,
calling me for?" Um,
mm,
or the phone number will try and ring you, and then you answer it, and it just hangs up immediately. And then you try and call them back, and like, "Hey, what do you just try to call me?" Nah. So yeah, I think in that whether or not it's got anything to do with old mate working at the airport, who knows? So it's the universe does some strange things, whether there's a connection there or not, who knows?
mm.
But also at that time frame, it could have just been a random hacker sort of stealing
Yeah.
people's phone lines for whatever reasons.
I did
But
ask Telstra. I said to them, "Can it be a scam call?" They said, "Yes." They take your number when they do a few hundred calls, and then they ditch your number.
yeah,
So I just had to say that that's probably what it was. But 6 minutes after it happened, oh, that
mm,
that but lucky it did happen because that's what gave me the where I was.
yeah, your timestamp,
That's
yeah,
yeah, the timestamp of where I was that day in the Mangalore radio tower.
yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
it's all whacked out on how things have worked out, and
mm,
yeah, it's absolutely incredible. So look, we'll finish her up there, and I can't thank you enough for joining me tonight. And I know you're a bit hesitant and coming out in the open and talking about these things because it's incredibly new to you, and you've done a fantabulous. Wow, that's an old ad. um,
thanks, thanks.
fantastic job talking, and you've done absolutely really well. And I'll encourage you to go and speak more often because you've done an absolute great job, and
Oh,
I
thank
can't thank
you.
you enough either way. So thank you again so much for coming on and sharing your story there. And
And
just
thanks
everyone,
for
don't forget
having me.
to go on. Oh, you're welcome. To go and get your hands on this book here because it's going to be absolutely incredible. So yeah, all right. Any final words before we finish up there at all, or yeah, pretty much done?
Me?
Or actually, sorry,
Oh,
just one more question. Sorry, one more question before you. So in regards to aliens and natures and that, what do you or who do you think they actually are?
I think their dimensions, something to do with dimensions, like they don't work on our level. I think they've got something that they know that we don't. I believe there's something dimensional about them, that they can come and they can go. They got telepathy. I think they got telepathy. When I looked at it that day and I had that feeling it knew me, I would swear there was a download there somewhere, a download of something. Something came through that message. So there's something, they've got something that we haven't got here. I think we're primitive compared to them.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's fair call. It's one of the biggest questions. Are they interdimensional or something in that nature? And it sort of adds up a little bit that way, doesn't it? It's,
Mm,
you know, they can do a lot of things that we can't do, and it's just frustrating. It's like, I
yeah.
just want to know who you are. Why won't you talk to us all the time? Sort of thing. You know, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Like certain people seem to have the connection, and others don't. So it's like, what's going
Mm.
on there?
Because this green thing didn't act like a normal thing. It was strange because it didn't have the speed, it didn't have the trajectory, it had a tail. I think it changed directions. There was something in it, had bits in it. It didn't hurt me, it didn't kill me. But it's not like the other stories that I've read and got to know, what happens to people with abductions and stuff.
Hmm.
It's a different story. But I've got the proof. I've got
Yeah.
the evidence.
That's right. That's the main thing. Well, look, thank you again so much for joining me. It's been absolutely wonderful. And yeah, by all means, till next time, mate. And
Yeah.
keep in touch and find out if any more evidence comes out from this investigation.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. I reckon something might come out of it one day. Maybe one of the readers will work it out.
It may be. You never know. Hopefully, and they'll ask the bigger questions and try and find out more stuff. But again, look, thank you very much. It's absolutely wonderful.
Thank you very much too.
Thanks, eh? Right, thanks guys for joining me. It's absolutely awesome having you tonight, and thanks for getting involved with the chats there. It's great. So great to see you there, Shelley. Joanna, thanks for joining me. I think you might be a new listener there, Joanna. Not sure if you've joined us before, but yeah, thanks for joining me and asking the questions there. It's great having you in there. Got Jennifer there on the chats there. She's going to be watching a bit later on. So yeah, I hope you do, and I hope you get some. I don't know what do you call it, bit of excitement out of this and intriguement. But otherwise, yeah, look, guys, it's been absolutely another awesome episode here tonight, and thanks again for joining me. Don't forget you can support the page by sharing it out to wherever you need to, where you think you need to. Put a like on this bad boy there. Don't forget to go and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that little bell notification there so you know when we are live. Join the Facebook page there as well, so you know what's happening with the show there. I try to put updates there for when live shows are coming on, but yeah, you get the odd occasion there where it's, things are a bit last minute there, so you might not get it too soon. But anyway, it's yeah, make sure you just hit that subscribe button, hit the notification buttons there, so you do get the notifications and whatnots. Also, don't forget you can purchase some merchandise, like get some awesome t-shirts like this one here. It helps support the page, the channel in that way. Every purchase also gets a free bumper sticker as well, so go and get your hands on any of that sort of merch there. So yeah, otherwise, thank you very much for joining me again tonight and getting the chats here, and I'll love to see you again on the next one. Which also reminds me, we will be having another live stream tomorrow afternoon, 2 p.m. Queensland time, 3 p.m. New South Wales there, and the other timelines I have to work out. I think we're about 2 hours difference between Western Australia, so if you can work that between. And for some reason, Adelaide and South Australia is half an hour ahead of me, so which is a weird way to work out. But anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling and leave you to it. So all the best, guys, and until next time, mate, and enjoy. For this episode, I hope you enjoyed the show, and don't forget, if you or someone you know has had an encounter, please get in touch with me to be featured on the podcast. If you're a fan of the show, you can support the podcast by purchasing some awesome merchandise that's available on our online store via the link provided in the episode description. So thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on the next Encounter Down Under. Hooroo!